it's Pixelade here, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So I have actually been working on this video over the past few days. I've been digging through the leak on Instant Gaming and what looks like a placeholder description. I also started looking into fairy lore and even trying to figure out where in the world a pack like this could be set in for The Sims 4. But now, after yesterday's official announcement of the Nature's Calling event, paired with some rather suspicious tweets that might be hinting at a real-world location, I think at this point it is very safe to say that something big is coming. We don't know what it is just yet, but I think it's likely fairies, and it could potentially be more than fairies. So let's start with the leak that kicked all of this off. Instant Gaming posted a listing for what looks to be the next Sims 4 expansion pack. The name is Enchanted by Nature. Now, this isn't officially confirmed by EA, and like I just mentioned, the description is likely just a placeholder. But it is worth noting that Instant Gaming has listed real Sims packs before they were officially revealed, many times before. Now, it does look like the listing has since been taken down, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions and say that means this is fake. It's possible EA reached out and had it removed, or maybe Instant Gaming just pulled it themselves. But before we go any further into the video, and while we're on the topic of Instant Gaming, if you want to purchase and play expansion packs without spending full price, they've got huge discounts right now. You can save up to 90% on select games compared to other retailers like Steam or the EA app, and up to 70% off on most Sims 4 DLC at the moment. Most expansion packs are going for around 15 to 20 bucks, and some are even a little bit cheaper. And also, don't forget to enter my giveaway for the chance to win any game of your choice. There have only been about 300 entries this month so far, so your chances are actually very high right now. And there are even bonus entries if you follow my socials, which are all totally free. My giveaway and affiliate links are down under this video. And speaking of down under, let's travel there and talk more about New Zealand. So when you think about it, New Zealand actually has a ton of historical and cultural lore around magical forest spirits and fairy-like beings. Some come from European settlers, like fairies guarding streams and forests. But there are also legends about mysterious human-like beings who live deep in the foggy mountains. They stay out of sunlight, have powers connected to nature and music, and come off way more mysterious than your usual tiny, sparkly fairies. That sort of folklore would tie perfectly with a fantasy nature Sims pack. But I want to take a closer look at the placeholder description, because that's where things really get interesting. It teased fairies, obviously, gardening overhauls, and something that sounds like herbal remedies or potions. So I definitely want to break that down, along with what features we hope to see in a pack like this, and what kind of world the pack might bring, especially if it does in fact include fairies. With that said though, it's important to keep in mind that this video isn't meant to say all of these things are definitely coming. Think of this more as like a brainstorming session. I'm kind of just spitballing and throwing out ideas based off what we're seeing. Now, realistically, we know how EA operates. They're more likely to cut corners than to fully expand and flesh out every system to the highest degree. So while there's a lot of exciting potential here, I'm definitely not expecting all of it to make it in, and I want to say that. So the listing didn't mention a location, but the reason why I bring up New Zealand and the ties in with lore is because CBX Sims actually tweeted going New Zealand. Someone even replied asking if they knew something, and CBX Sims responded potentially. Now obviously there's no confirmation here. Maybe they're just joking, maybe they actually know something, or maybe they have some sort of connection we don't know about. If a world is New Zealand inspired, it would also be the first time The Sims 4 has taken inspiration from it. So many of our worlds are US or European centric, so it would be a nice change of pace. Now, another big thing teased in this Instant Gaming leak was gardening, and I definitely want to talk about the current gardening system more. It is buggy and broken, and that is an understatement. I'm sure I could find better words to describe it, but that's it, plain and simple. It's impossible for me to list every issue, but we have plants turning back into dirt piles, watered plants showing up as dry, gardeners not doing their jobs. Some players report more issues than others, obviously, but either way, it is a long overdue for an update. Now, if this new expansion really does focus on nature and gardening, we need to see actual improvements, not just bug fixes. Of course, I want the system to work and function properly, but I'd like to see an advanced irrigation system added to the game, way beyond the one basic sprinkler that we have from the season's expansion pack, or the splash pads from Growing Together, though I'm not entirely sure if you can use the splash pads as sprinklers for your garden. I've actually never tried it, but we can think way bigger than that here. We need underground piping, zone controls, and maybe even overhead misters that actually work in the greenhouses we could already build. I think even different sprinkler types, like wall-mounted, solar-powered, or even magical ones if fairies are involved, would be really neat too. And sprinklers should be its own build by category. We also need full-size raised garden beds. The ones that are waist high. The ones we have in the game now are probably about a foot off the ground, I think, which is still too low for what this kind of system really needs. While we're on the topic of gardens and plants, I think it's important that we also bring up plant sims here as well. So they're technically already in the game, but they've always felt like an afterthought. They're not technically a real occult. They're only temporary. There's no cast support, no trait system, no perks, nothing permanent basically. But with the potential for a nature-themed pack on the way, I think this could be the perfect time to give them the overhaul they have always needed. Now, what if EA actually committed to making plant sims feel like a full occult? We could have an entire motive system tied to sunlight and hydration, a perk tree like vampires or werewolves, new interactions and animations, and possibly even weather-dependent behavior. That kind of system could tie into cross-pack gameplay with seasons. Like maybe their hydration or energy levels are affected by rain, dry spells, and heat waves, which we get a lot in summertime, or seasonal sunlight changes. They could have some sort of like plant sim cultivation station, or some kind of gameplay object that lets you unlock abilities, maybe like summoning vines, accelerating plant growth, or like forming bonds with nature. They could wilt during blizzards or snowstorms, or grow stronger in the springtime when the weather's warming up. And it would be pretty neat if they had their own like mini life cycle where they evolve from seedlings to full grown blooming plant sims. Now, I'm not expecting all of this, but if there's ever been a time for them to get a proper overhaul, this would absolutely be it. I want to talk more on apothecary tables though, because this was also something that was teased in that description for the pack. Again, this is not confirmed, but I also think it's very important that we separate them from what we already have with Realm of Magic. So in that game pack, yes, you can craft potions, but this would be a completely different system if we saw it. Think more in the way of nature-based remedies. Maybe your sim collects herbs from their garden, mixes them with other ingredients, and brews tinctures or natural potions to treat ailments or something. It would obviously not be spellcasting, but more grounded in like herbal healing, which fits the whole forest core, nature's calling vibe the Sims team has been putting out lately with some of these season teasers. Now, ideally, there'd be recipes tied to gardening and foraging, maybe even seasonal ingredients or effects that change under moon phases, because we received that with the update for werewolves. But more importantly, this system definitely needs depth. I don't want to see a brand new crafting table with a couple of moodlet buffs. There needs to be a real remedy and cure system tied to plants, fairies, and the Sims world around them. You have to think, at the end of the day, this isn't going to be a game pack if it is fairies. It is an expansion pack, so they have to think bigger than vampires and werewolves this time around. So now I want to talk about ailments. I've talked previously about how The Sims 4 needs more in terms of consequences and challenges, things to overcome within the gameplay. But I think if the Sims team were to add nature-themed afflictions that come from the world itself, that would make the gameplay a whole lot better. Like imagine rashes from touching the wrong plant, or sneezing flower petals from a pollen curse. They could even implement visual effects, moodlets, temporary systems. I think that would sell it pretty well. And then use the whole apothecary system to treat them and tie all of this together. Now, the outdoor retreat pack did introduce the herbalism skill, but those remedies are honestly super basic, and with this being an expansion pack, they could expand on that so much more. It's kind of just survivalist stuff like deodorizing cream or bug spray, and the only real ailments are mild moodlets or reactions from the squeamish trait. But what we're talking about here would go way beyond that. Actual supernatural symptoms tied to nature or magic, with added visual flair and gameplay depth, of course. I think if anything, it would definitely build on Outdoor Retreat's foundation without stepping on its toes and replacing it entirely. Now, the last thing that I want to bring up is the idea of a Naturopath career. We don't have anything like it in The Sims 4. There's no career where you heal using nature, but I think this would be the perfect pack to introduce it. It could be active like the doctor career from Get to Work, but focused more on natural cures, herbal remedies, and fairy-based afflictions. Or it's possible maybe they could go the freelance route where your sim brews remedies and sells them at a stall or a home business. There's more pack integration there. But I think that even though this instant gaming description is likely not the actual description, I think the general sentiment from them is probably what we're going to end up seeing in this expansion pack. I mean, the mentions of gardening, foraging, herbalism, fairies, all of it really does fit together in one cohesive loop. And even though I am personally not the biggest fan of fairies myself, just the pack being themed around this is super interesting, and it's kind of different than anything they've ever done for a Sims 4 expansion pack. That is if, of course, they do it. Again, none of this is confirmed, but based on the wording of the leak, the timing of this brand new event, and all of the talk within the Sims community, something big is definitely coming. Let me know what you think this new expansion could or should include, and would you want New Zealand as the setting for it? Do you think it perfectly fits with the whole nature theme? And if fairies are included, the mystical magical of it all? And do you want to see gardening finally fixed? I want to hear all of your thoughts down in the comments below. And of course, thank you so much for watching. Take care, guys, and happy life simming.